Hey, if you have back issues, make sure you watch this podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Body Breakdown. I'm Kelly. This is David. We got Tyler and Barry. Last week, if you caught up with us, we talked about the shoulder. This week, we are talking about the back. So I'm going to have David work on me. Tyler's going to be taking my place. Yep. And we're going to talk about my back issues. So if you've got some, make sure you listen up because this is how we fix back problems here in the studio.
All right, so now we're going to go over Kelly's issues she's been having with her back hip area. And just going to show you guys how we would go about identifying what problems she's having and our action plan. So Kelly, go ahead and start by giving us a background of kind of what happened and how it originated.
So a couple of weeks ago, Caleb and I were actually supposed to run a half marathon in Nashville, but because of COVID, that got canceled. So we still ended up going because we had already paid for the Airbnb, and where our Airbnb was is in downtown area, which is super cool because we can walk everywhere. But I noticed going downhill wasn't so bad, but whenever we had to walk back up from being downtown to our apartment, it really started to hurt the right side of my back. Mm-hmm. So it was mostly just going uphill that it bothered it. Then as we were in the studio and I was leaning over and working on people, I kept noticing it. And then last week, I was washing a table and tripped and fell on my side, and it has been really bad ever since.
Yeah. So I like that story not story, but what happened.
You like that I tripped?
No, it actually explains. It explains a lot of times exactly the thing that happens with people is it's been kind of slowly coming on, and all of a sudden something happens, and then it just amplifies it. And that's kind of an area
especially if you're a klutz.
Yeah, but that's something. So that is a very similar story we see. Is like I did this, I fell down, and it made it worse, and that's something we hear a lot. So any movements? Actually, let's start with that, Kelly. That you feel bother it more than others?
Bending over, especially when I'm stretching a client. Mm-hmm. I noticed that a lot. I noticed that today, so I've actually been trying to switch out mobilities with Caleb so I can do more summer privates because it hurts less if I'm stuck in that position. Walking uphill bothers it a little bit. Going up a lot of stairs bothers it. One flight is okay because it's not too much, but if I have to go up quite a few flights, then it's
And now, so you said bending over was the biggest one, okay? Now kind of pinpoint and show me where it really is.
The pain kind of sits right back up in here in the low back area, just on the right side, not so much on the left.
Okay.
That's where the pain is on the right side. And it's right through here is where it radiates. Whenever I lean over, it hits here and it starts to creep up a little bit back in here.
All right, so a couple things that we're going to be looking at is something in your trunk. So back to your feeling. So especially when we look at back, there's two joints that are going to be affecting it a lot. We got the trunk and we got the hips. So we're going to see if there's a tug of war game happening at where she's having the pain at. So is it something pulling this way and something pulling that way? So I'm going to start diagnosing and looking at different muscles and see if, one, something's not moving correctly, and two, if there's this tenderness in spots that's telling me, hey, this muscle's not working correctly. All right, Kelly, show us the movements that really are bothering it.
So when I'm like this, if I'm hunched over, kind of working on the client or stretching them, staying in this range really hurts this side, and it almost hits a little bit on the left side too. If I go all the way down though, it feels good, it's almost stretching it. So it's just a certain range.
Yeah. Okay. So at the end we're gonna work on. We're gonna test that again to see if that feels better in that spot. Okay. All right. So now the first thing I like to do is see what's not moving. If there's any immobilities happen. When I say immobility, is some part of the joint that's not working. A muscle's not allowing the joint to move in the right direction. So back to, like I said a while ago with my assumptions of what it is, I'm going to look at this glute medius area back here, glute minimus, glute max, that little back area, and see if there's any restrictions happening in that area before we start getting into it. So I'm not really going to go for a deep stretch. I'm just looking to see if there's anything not moving correctly first. So first I'm going to look at is how's her rotation. So her rotations, I would say not terrible, not exactly what I'm looking for. So Kelly's someone that has actually pretty good mobility overall, so when we're not getting really good mobility, that's telling me that something's tightening up. So if she has one side that's really mobile, but the other side's just a little unmobile, could still cause problems. It's because it's imbalance.
This side has good mobility.
Yeah.
That's
That does not. Okay, yeah. So those are just the things that I'm looking at. So now someone else I'm going to be looking at, if they've had a lot of bad mobility, they may be way worse to this, and that might not be as big a problem in that specific thing. But for Kelly, even though I know that she should be able to get the whole rotation really easily, and I can already start feeling tension happening there. So I already know that with her mobility, it's going to need really good mobility, not just okay mobility. Okay, so now I'm going to look into when I have the rotation. So the glute medius is going to be in this rotational movement and when we move this way. So that's going to, and glute max are going to be these. So these are going to tell me. So now, once I started moving this way with that, we're getting a lot of restriction. So she should be able to bring her knee about this far from her shoulder over there. And I'm already feeling restriction at this point right here. So it's not terrible amount of restriction. But I'm still feeling restriction. I shouldn't be feeling any restriction yet. So I'm feeling a decent amount of restriction. So I'm not going to go terribly far on that. I'm just trying to see. So that's telling me the glute's not moving correctly. So that is one area that I know is not moving well. So that is playing into what I think it was already. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually go look at palpating the glute medius and minimus and see if there's anything not moving in there. And I'm going to go ahead and start palpating the trunk extenders and see if there's any tenderness in those too.
Did she have any tension, or what do you feel overall whenever he was stretching that?
Honestly, as he rotates more, I start to feel that like my femur head kind of rotate, and it wants to catch too as he started to move forward.
So that's already telling us she has an imbalance in there. So the outside is tighter than the inside, so we're getting the femur head in the wrong position. So that's a whole other problem. That isn't even totally that. That's a whole other problem.
It's kind of like a pinching feeling.
Yeah, okay. So then that's some things we get. So what we'll have to do, we'll see as we loosen things up, but we might have to take a step backwards and focus on some more inner pectineus little muscles up in the up top of the hip here to see if we can get that loosened up to allow that femur head to pull out when we stretch. So that's a whole other problem. Sometimes we have to take a step back so we can get the right joint movement from happening. So that's not necessarily contributing to her problem back there. That's another problem that's going to prevent us to be able to move forward. That make sense?
I always like to explain it like it's like you almost have to loosen things up to be able to get to the real problems. You're having to fix these other problems to get to the real issue. Because like if it is her glute is the problem, you have to make sure that those loosen up so you can stretch the backside.
Yeah, and that could be why that's locked up is these muscles aren't even allowing that muscle to elongate no matter what she does. And then they're continually shortened because she never can even move into these positions. So that's something that can happen. So, all right, anything else?
Nope.
Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and flip over. All right, so now I'm going to start palpating and checking out muscles and feeling if there's tenderness. So what I'm looking for is if she jumps, there's going to be sensitivity there. If I'm looking for density, knots, any of that. So I'm going to be communicating with her as when I'm digging, I don't want to go too much, but I also don't want to go too little. So we use our little pain scale, 10 being too much, 1 being I don't feel anything at all. We want to hit a 7. 7 means it's tender, but I can take it. 8 means it's tender, but I can only take it for 5 seconds. And then 9 and 10 is those levels of too much, I can't take this. And that's kind of what we're going to be communicating. And anything below like 6, it's like, it's a little tender, but not bad, and further down. So those are going to be the things that we're going to be looking at when we're going in this. So all right, Kelly, we're going to start in the glute area and the trunk extenders, and I want to look at those areas right there, okay? So I just want you to tell me some numbers as I start palpating. I'm going to start in slow, hopefully slow. We'll see how it feels for you. And then we're going to start building up on that, okay? So we're going to start on this glute medius first. So I'm going to start with that. Okay, so I'm already starting to feel some density there. What is this initial pressure right there? What's that feel like?
That's like a 5-6.
Okay, so not bad, but still tender, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to keep moving over and increasing the intensity as we go here. So we're starting with pressure just to see if I'm feeling any density in these muscles. So down here, I don't feel as dense, but the very top of her pelvis, I'm starting to feel some density right there. So is that tender right in there? What's that number?
Yeah, that's probably like a...
Not bad though?
4.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to keep on searching, see what kind of density we can find with it. What was that?
That's a little bit higher.
So that right there, that was in her more of her glute minimus, so a different muscle that's a little deeper. And I almost feel like a knot in that one, and that pretty tender right there.
Yeah, that's...
Okay, so that's an area we're going to put some focus on here in a second. But I want to really kind of look at this very top of this glute medius here.
Oh, that's tender too.
Okay, there it is. So the bottom parts of her glute medius isn't bad, but her very top here is.
So now whenever you're feeling through there, do you feel anything different from the areas that hurt her to the areas that don't?
Are you talking to me or her? What'd you say?
To you.
Oh yeah, yes. This area, like I said, feels actually soft, and this very top part feels very dense. Yep. And there's like a lot of It's harder tissue is what we're looking for, and it's less sensitive here and more sensitive here on her.
Yeah,
and it's the same muscle. It's just different fibers of it. This is down here is the lower part of her glute medius, and this is just right where it connects right here. So she's that connectal area. She has some tender points.
And then what are you trying? What's your goal out of this? What are you trying to do?
Step one is we got to get sensitivity out. So if it's tender, we got to get that tenderness to go away. And then 2 is we need to work out the knots. So we got to work out the dense tissue, and I'm going to kind of keep working it out to get that density out, so that it increases the range of motion. So when we go back to stretch that later, it's going to move better.
Yep,
okay.
For sure. I always think a big thing to understand is we're trying to massage, get the tenderness out, is because that's what relaxes that tissue, so you can get more range of motion. And then the tension taken off that area is what takes off the pain.
Yep.
Tension leads to pain.
Yeah, because it's the tug of war game. Like I said, like the pain's right here. We have a muscle that's right here tugging this way. And we're gonna look and see if we have a muscle here, and it's a game of tug of war happening right there. So if she has too much tension there, it's gonna cause the pain. So our goal is to get rid of the tension, like you said. So yes, okay, cool. Let's go. Okay, so we did know that, so I'm going to be working on the glute medius, glute minimus, and then I'm going to check the trunk extenders next. So let's look at that.
Okay, yeah.
Tender, okay,
That's
so there is
tender.
definitely some tenderness in there. I'm not putting a ton of pressure. There's a little bit of pressure in there. Let's just see how.
It's not so bad up high.
Okay. So I'm just going to go all the way up here. Yeah, it feels softer here. So the spots are a lot softer. Okay, so we definitely have some density down here. That tender right there.
That's where it starts to get tender.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it's very good news. It's the density is very localized. So it's not very far from her pain spot, and then it's on both sides. It's a very top part of her glute medius and potentially glute minimus, and a very low part of her trunk extenders. So that's what we're going to work on first here.
Why would something get hard or dense like that?
Depends on, it can be back to 2 levels, or 3 things. Underuse or overuse is 2 things, or technically an injury and scar tissue buildup. So if you underuse something, it just starts, you're not elongating it enough, so it just gets tighter and tighter just from not having to elongate.
Yep.
And the other is the overuse. You're overusing it, so your body just gets fatigued. It's trying to protect that because you're overusing that area, so it makes that area tight because it's trying to protect it from not hurting itself because you're using it too much.
Kelly, have you been overusing that at all? That you notice?
Well, whenever I'm working on people in
Yeah,
here.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You're
that
bending
was
over.
my point.
Yeah.
Is she's bending over long periods of time, trying to get people loosened up, stuff along those lines.
So this is what we do. This is our scenario, and so another thing is for me, thumbs. We do a lot of thumbs, so I get overuse of my thumbs. So I have this. Kelly's in this scenario is leaning over, stretching, so she's getting overuse. What is your thing that you're doing every day that you're overusing, and we need to be on recovery times? So that's what we need. That's what we do. Is we don't know. We don't know specifically what you do, so that's what we do our 3 days, so we can identify and analyze where your spots are like this. Everybody's a little different because they use their body differently on a daily basis.
Yep. Perfect. That was answering my question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay. All right, so now we're actually going to go start working on some stuff. So the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get sensitivity out, so I'm going to use a massager to see what we are looking at there, and then we're going to go digging to get out that density, and then we're going to work on some stretching. So we're going to start with this. We have this nice little massager here. What I'm going to do first, oops, it's going crazy. I'm going to use this this airhead here. It's got air.
It sounds delicious.
My favorite candy.
So it's more cushiony than the other one. So everything she's having is really close to bone. So this one will cushion, and it'll allow us the muscle to absorb the vibration and allow this muscle sensitivity to go away. If you use too hard of one near a bone, it's going to bounce off of it. So this one's really good for the little areas that we're going to be on. Okay, so let's get started here. Kelly, if you actually stay as flat as you can for initially here, because this spot here. Okay, I'm going to go right to this tenderness area. Okay, Kelly, tell me first off, how sensitive is this?
Right there, it's not too terrible.
Okay. Nothing terrible yet. So what I like to think about on this is to get the sensitivity. I don't really want to go to a 7. I want to stick at like a 5 or 6 to get these muscles to settle down a bit. So that's kind of what I'm looking for on this first initial thing that I'm going to try to do here, okay? And if we do get a 7, it's not a bad thing, but not necessarily my goal. I'm just trying to get our body used to a little stress before we start digging too much.
It's like a 3.
Okay, good. Go a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, that's
That
jumping.
just jump up pretty quickly
It's
there?
like 5.
Okay, so we're getting there,
You
okay.
press a little bit harder.
Yep, so I'm just trying to start getting the guy. I took it in slow first, just kind of see how much tension she can handle. and then now I'm increasing the amount of tension as we start going. Just really focusing on her trunk extenders right now. Just the bottom half, not even half, right? About bottom quarter of it is all where the density was. So I'm really just focused on these areas right here right now.
Okay, yeah, that's the spot.
Okay, well, how much intense did that get?
It was hitting 6.
Okay, so still not our 7-8 area, but just, it was there though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What made you choose the trunk extender rather than the glute to massage first?
No real reason. I just wanted to start there. Either or would have been totally fine. So I had to do both. I'm going to be doing both.
For sure.
Okay. But yeah, even for the glute though, the part of the glute that's bad is right near the top of the iliac crest. So I'm going to have to use this tip because it's going to be way too close to the crest. It'll be vibrating right off of her iliac crest there if we were using a different head.
How you doing, Kelly?
This actually isn't as bad as I expected.
Okay, let me just I'm gonna start that same first off, and we'll see. Okay, there, nothing terrible.
As you get more to the outside of my hip, like as you
So-
pull more towards yourself, it definitely starts to get a little bit worse.
Same thing there. What number did that get to?
Like a 4 or 5.
Okay, still not bad. Okay, good. I
I'm
think I'm
not-
gonna have more success of my dig with my fingers on these spots.
Yep.
So I just wanted to
That's
make
what
sure
I
we're
was
getting
worried about.
sensitivity out of this first. That more tender? What's that?
Yeah, like 6.
Okay. I saw the epic foot click kick. That usually tells me real quick if we hit a spot.
And then sometimes it's a little ticklish.
Yeah, yep. So that is a version of the sensitivity.
It's not as unbearable as it has been in the past, though.
Yeah, because we worked on this a couple weeks ago, and it was
miserable.
so
oh
sensitive.
My gosh. I almost punched you.
That is a 10, is punching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to go with fingers now. Okay, I'm going to start back. Actually, I'm going to start on these glutes on this one because I want to get this a little better. We were getting that pretty good. So now we're going to start digging. So now I am looking for my 7. I want to make sure to get change in this muscle fiber, I really need this to start getting some stress. So I'm digging here. I want to get 7/8. So I don't want to get 9s and 10s. That means we're going too far. But I want to get deep into 7. So all right, Kelly. If we're digging into that, what's that feel like?
That's 6.
Okay, good.
You're on the edge.
So good news is I'm putting a good amount of pressure now. So we found a spot.
Well, top it there.
So I think we hit a spot that jumped up to like a.
That was definitely 7.
Okay. So what's that feeling like?
Right there is not too bad. It's never you like started to grab and pull.
Okay.
That's never really.
What about that spot right there?
Yeah, that's the spot.
That's the spot there, yeah. Same thing there. What's that feel like?
It's like a good pain.
Yep. I like that's really what I like to get to. It's the hurt so good. That's what I like to call it. It's tender, but you're like, oh my, it feels like there's pressure there and it's releasing. That's what I like to call the hurt so good.
Yeah.
Okay.
That spot right there is where I feel it all.
Okay. Yep. That's right at the top of her glute medius.
Even when I'm bent over, or walk uphill, that's where I feel it right there.
Okay. Good.
Okay, try not to relax.
You're doing good. Good. We're just gonna work that out here. That's still tender there.
Yeah, it's getting better.
Good.
It's just I gotta try not to tense up against you.
So that is another thing. This is where sometimes it's the only way this muscle tissue can go away or like start breaking down and the sensitivity go away is relaxation. You got even though it's tender, you gotta relax. So that's kind of one of the things we do is that's why sometimes I don't want to go too hard too fast because it's impossible to relax. So it's about getting that good balance of tenderness that you can handle, and that's kind of that's what really that 7 is. It's that it's tender, but I can take it, and we might play into that 8 for a little bit just to get some tissue breakdown. But we really got to get it to stay settling down.
Oh my God, that's an 8.
That up to an 8, yeah. So we're getting there. So there's some real dense tissue up here, and that's what I'm trying to get to move.
Are you more in the glute, or where are you?
Oh yeah, we're still right in the very top of the glute medius right there.
Oh goodness.
All right, so what I'm going to do is come back with a little bit of a massage right there to get that to settle down. So back to, sometimes what we're going to do, we're digging, we're creating some sensitivity because we're breaking the tissue. So I like to come back and let it massage to settle down.
Ooh, even over there. It's a little...
Even tender out there? Yep.
Yeah.
Ticklish or tender?
It was more tender than
Tender.
tickle. It's still like a 5, but it was like noticeable, I guess.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There's a spot. How we doing there?
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Good. Trying
It's
to get
chilling
just.
out.
What's that?
It's chilling out.
Good, 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 good. That's what I'm trying to get it to do. Just kind of start relaxing again. I just dug into it real good, and we're breaking some tissue loose. Oh, there's a little spot there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All right, now let's move up. Let's give that a break for a second. Let's go up to this trunk extender. Okay.
Dave, what would happen if they just let this go and just, not do anything about it?
It's just going to get worse. So if you just keep doing this, letting this go and don't do anything about it, it just literally going to get tighter. And you're going to keep doing the same things that you're doing every day. And what you're doing every day is making it worse or making it tighter. And you're creating more pressure and more pressure and more pressure. So it isn't getting better. It isn't releasing the pressure by doing nothing. So this is what we're doing. We're releasing the pressure. So letting the muscles start moving like they're supposed to. If they keep doing like they are, they're just going to keep getting worse. They don't ever fix themselves.
Yeah. And I think a big thing that people have to understand is these muscles attach to skeletal structures, and it pulls the skeletal structure either out of position. So you could have in this case, it could be a SI joint could be coming out of place because the trunk extender being so tight and the glute being so tight. It could be, you could be creating bulging herniated disc from it if you let it go too long. Deterioration of the disc over time from all of that pressure because your routine stays the same. And we see this every single day. So this is not like an abnormal thing. It's, and her job is overutilizing these muscle groups, and we're not doing enough recovery, not enough stretching, not enough massage, not enough of the opposing muscles or workload into it, and that's what's causing the issue. So we have to figure out on what type of things do we need to do on a weekly basis to counteract this to make sure this doesn't keep happening.
Yes. Kelly, how we doing?
It's a little tender
'Kay.
down through there with your hand. I will say I was walking the day after Thanksgiving with my mom and my sister. We did a virtual 5K, and my back started hurting about mile 2, I guess, the last mile of it. And then when I started to engage my abs and kind of clench my core, that sort of helped take the pressure off the back.
Yep. So that's the other component is now you need the that's the long-term fix too. Is yes, you got to get these muscles loosened up, but the other's more core strength. We keep working. The amount of workload that you're doing of you're stretching people and you're engaging your core the whole time is we need lots of core strength to do what we're doing on a daily basis. The positions we're in and everything like that. So if our core is stronger, we can handle this and these muscles don't lock up. And that's kind of the long term is we got to get you that person, whoever we're working with, is the amount of strength to do the workload they do every single day and not their muscles lock up afterwards too. Okay. Let's see.
I always think a big thing to understand too, a lot of people always categorize back pain as the same for everybody, but it's really everybody is completely different. This is her on her right side. It could be the same issue, but with somebody else on their left side. Or it could be a different issue coming on the front side, stuff along those lines. So I think that's a big thing that really people think is there's a standard to fixing the problem when in reality there's so many different muscles that be causing the issue. That's why we do the 3-day evaluations on the front end for free so we can actually identify the problem.
All right, so now let's see what the range of motion, see if we improve the range of motion from the massaging we did. So first off, I want to see what your rotation's looking like. And then now that we loosen the muscles, I am going to try to stretch. The last time I was just getting some just getting the muscles to move just to kind of see where they are. But now I want to make sure we're elongating those muscles. So I'm really going to focus on some stretching of it here now. Okay, so let me get some good leverage positions here. So we're going to go with some rotation here.
Yeah, and I think a big point too, it's whenever we're doing stretching, we're utilizing that same scale that he was using with the massage with the stretching. So Kelly, what's that feel like?
That's a 6, 7.
Right there. Okay, good. Okay, and that's kind of want to play in that that level of hitting that 7. And if we get real deep, we might hit an 8. But right there, stretching. Yeah, good.
There.
Right there, good. And we got to get into that spot. Sometimes we go, probably about 3 to 5 seconds is all we really stay into that at the max. Sometimes just get to the spot, get it, and then come back out is what we do. So just that getting in those positions for quick, and we do it repetitively.
Now, if somebody was having similar issues, what is good range of motion, or what is bad range of motion?
So what we're working on here is I want to get her shoulder probably somewhere between 3 to 4 inches from either shoulder, because I'm going back and forth. I'm stretching the glute this way and the glute that way. So that's what I'm shooting for, is getting her shoulder about 3 to 4 inches. But really, I was feeling resistance a lot the very first time right here.
Yep.
So that's what I want to make sure we're trying to increase that range so that glute's used to moving more.
And then the other part is, why are you rotating the leg? Why would it be the same if I just pulled my knee straight in?
So two things. The glute medius is also in an internal rotation, so I'm externally rotating this to make sure we're getting that muscle to move there. And we're moving, so we're moving it in 2 different movement patterns. Okay. So that one would have just been 1 movement pattern. Now we're moving it in 2 movement patterns. So it's elongating double the time.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I think this just goes to show it's the complication of the stretch, is we are manipulating the body based off of how the muscles move and all of the different movement patterns, so we can really target the specific muscle group that's causing your pain. So we have a whole bunch of different stretches that we can utilize and a lot of different movements, so we can isolate that specific muscle group. So really, we've done a lot of research and studying on being able to figure out what's the best position to be able to elongate the muscle that's causing your problem, rather than just doing reach down and touch your toes stuff along those lines.
And the other component is I'm focusing on skeletal structures that these muscles are attached to, staying still. So I'm applying pressure down so this pelvis doesn't move, because what will happen is if I rotate this and she tries pulling her arm, her whole hip's going to come off. So that's the bone that this muscle's attached to, and we're trying to separate those 2 bones so this muscle will stretch. So that's kind of the maneuver, all these positionings I'm doing. I'm leveraging, pushing all those bones away from each other as we're moving too. So that's another thing we're doing too. All right, one other stretch I want to do is we're going to do a stretch just to stretch out the lumbar trunk extenders there. So I'm going to drive your knees into your chest, and we're going to do kind of just roll her lower back into kind of a ball and just stretching those out. Feel that stretching it all there?
Not too bad.
Not bad, okay. Well, your knees go out just a little wider, so it's not terrible. Go ahead and put your hands on your knees too. Right there, good, good. And we're just going to roll a little bit. Let that lower back stretch if there's any tightness. Any stretching there at all?
No, usually I have to really push my
legs.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm just checking to see, and if there's not a lot of tightness, we're not even gonna have to worry about it. So that's what I'm just kind of just checking to see if there's any tightness. We're gonna one more and see with a little bit more hip rotation. No, so that part's not bad. So the glutes were the main problem on that anyway. So let's stand up and check out how it's feeling. All right, Kelly, move around. Tell me how everything's feeling right now. How's everything feeling? Okay.
Not so much on the right side anymore. There's a little bit on the left, but other than that.
Okay, so now that's even the one problem we focused on is there, and that's usually what screams the loudest. So now we're going to have to go focus on that. We're not going to do that this very second, but the area that we worked has gotten better, so I just opened up another thing. And this is what we do a lot of times is we have to work one thing, and then we move into the next thing, and we move into the next thing until we can get that chain of what is causing the problem to fix everything, until you can stand up and be like, oh yeah, there it is, because your body really only perceives pain one area, so it's whatever's screaming the loudest at the time. So once you usually loosen one thing up, another thing will pop up, and it just allows us to open through the chain. Yes, for sure. But yeah, that's going to be all we're going to do for today.
If you're having any type of lower back pain and you need to be able to figure out exactly what's causing your pain, the 3-day evaluation is a great place to start, so you can figure out what are the muscles that are causing your pain and how do you stretch them effectively.
Thanks for watching. David beat up on me. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And when you're commenting, make sure that you put any issues that you yourself are dealing with, and maybe we can feature that on our next podcast. So until then, we'll see you soon.